Adrian and Ruby's paths converged during their university days. He delved into the world of finance and economics, while she immersed herself in the study of botany. Fate played its part one day as they sat in the bustling university cafeteria, their lunchtime moments fleeting. Across the hall, Adrian's attention was captivated by a girl who exuded an effortless, natural beauty. She leisurely sipped her tea, her gaze fixed upon the sun's dance within the facets of her glass. This girl, devoid of any makeup, possessed a captivating allure. Her unadorned face emanated a beauty that transcended cosmetics, and her bright blue eyes seemed to radiate an inner light. Unable to resist the magnetic pull, Adrian couldn't help but approach her, inquiring about her peculiar fascination with a humble cup of tea. A warm smile graced her lips as she explained her aversion to the way the tea altered its color. Adrian, somewhat perplexed by this response, failed to discern the charm in such a trivial detail. Nevertheless, his fascination with the girl propelled him to wait for her and accompany her to the lecture hall, marking the beginning of their romantic journey. To the outside observer, they appeared as an appealing couple, yet conversations with them soon unveiled their stark differences in temperament. Adrian, characterized by his boundless energy and impatience, held the pursuit of hard work and financial success as his life's foremost objectives. In contrast, Ruby maintained a perpetually tranquil demeanor, adorned with an ever-present disarming smile, always eager to lend a helping hand. For Adrian, prosperity and financial comfort stood at the pinnacle of life's priorities, while for Ruby, the harmonious coexistence with the natural world held an equally paramount place, a testament to their beautifully contrasting natures. Their decision to be together and marry during their junior year astonished many of their classmates who knew them intimately. This stark contrast in character could be traced back to the divergent upbringings and environments that shaped Ruby and Adrian. Ruby's formative years were spent with her mother and grandmother, leading a frugal existence filled with hours of book reading and meticulous needlework. Sundays in their household meant attending church, followed by the joyous creation of delectable cakes, leisurely tea sessions, and spirited discussions on a myriad of topics. Adrian's family, in contrast, navigated a less comfortable existence. Growing up in a working-class family with 3 younger sisters, their financial struggles were ever present. Adrian's wardrobe bore the signs of their limited resources, and he was the sole boy in his class without a cell phone, a circumstance that stung with a sharp pang of resentment. It was during those challenging times that Adrian made a solemn vow to escape the clutches of poverty, no matter the hurdles. After attaining his diploma, he embarked on a meticulous job hunt, eventually securing a promising position, though not without enduring a period of uncertainty and perseverance. In contrast, Ruby harbored no ambition to seek employment like her husband did, making her intentions clear from the outset. However, she was far from idle. Her rented apartment was consistently tidy, meals were thoughtfully prepared, and Adrian's attire remained impeccably maintained. In addition to her domestic duties, Ruby channeled her creativity into crafting bouquets and artwork from dried flowers, adorning them with intricate embroidery, and selling her creations at local fairs. Although her pursuit did not yield substantial financial rewards, the pleasure it brought her was immeasurable. Ruby found solace in spending countless hours meandering through the woods and fields, in search of intriguing and unique herbs and leaves, an activity that baffled her husband, Adrian. He couldn't fathom how one could squander time hunting for commonplace herbs and engaging in what he considered non-productive pursuits that didn't yield much income. Conversely, Ruby struggled to comprehend Adrian's indifference toward the profound beauty of nature. Frequent discussions ensued as Adrian attempted to convey the importance of financial security and how it would enable them to acquire a comfortable home, and the essentials for a decent life more rapidly. Yet Ruby remained resolute in her different aspirations, which only served to irk Adrian further. He implored, "Adrian, a house will confine us to one place. We'll become its captives, and I can't bear the thought of that. Our life is ordinary enough as it is, Ruby. Don't you desire to drive a sleek car, own the latest iPhone, indulge in shopping sprees at the mall?" Ruby responded with unwavering sincerity, "I don't need any of that." In this moment of profound honesty, Adrian came to the stark realization that Ruby, with her innate clarity and strong work ethic, genuinely held these values. This realization momentarily heightened his frustration. Although they persisted in their relationship, it quickly became evident that they could no longer coexist. Their differences were insurmountable, and it became clear that they were truly too dissimilar to remain together. Their divorce was a remarkably amicable affair. Instead of severing ties completely, they chose to maintain an open line of communication, staying informed about each other's lives. Adrian made numerous attempts over the phone to comprehend how Ruby could continue living as she did. He even extended financial assistance, but Ruby remained resolute, pondering whether Adrian was content with sacrificing his desires for the sake of financial gain. She knew his likely response, so she held her silence for a while, and their communication dwindled. During this time, Ruby crossed paths with a street musician named Dominic, and to their delight, they discovered they shared a harmonious outlook on life. They seemed destined for each other. The young couple embarked on a joyful journey into matrimony and embarked on an extensive honeymoon. Acquiring a second-hand trailer, they traversed the country, reveling in life's simple pleasures. However, the arrival of Ruby's pregnancy necessitated adjustments to their nomadic lifestyle. They acquired a modest countryside dwelling, diligently renovating it to create a cozy nest for their future son, Cole. The three of them set off on journeys, secure in the knowledge that they had a home to return to. Cole inherited the artistic talents of his parents, revealing his musical and florist abilities by the tender age of 3. Ruby often gazed at her husband and son, offering silent prayers that her family would forever remain unchanged. Their happiness was not contingent on wealth, but rather on the gift of good health and the enduring beauty surrounding them. Adrian pursued his dreams while embracing the newfound simplicity of their lives. Adrian had already established a thriving company, reaping substantial profits. He had carved out a prominent name for himself in the business world, resided in a spacious 2-story suburban mansion, shared his life with a beautiful wife, and was a doting father to 2 children. Yet Adrian was not one to rest on his laurels. He continued to toil relentlessly. Initially, his focus lay in fortifying his business empire, but gradually he expended increasing energy to maintain the facade of a successful man. As a result, his presence within the family dwindled with each passing day. Even during vacations with his wife and children, Adrian found himself unable to remain for the duration, frequently detaching prematurely to attend to business matters. Negotiations, business trips, and clandestine encounters with other women in hotels further distanced him from his family. Eventually, he acquired a regular mistress, and though his wife began to suspect, Adrian brushed aside all inquiries with a casual disregard. He was convinced that she would never leave him, given that he provided for their every need. However, his assumption proved gravely mistaken. One fateful morning, after yet another night of revelry, he returned home to discover an empty house and divorce papers on the table. Adrian seethed with anger, but he had little time to ponder his next steps. A call from his company's lawyer informed him of a dire financial crisis that demanded immediate attention, or the company would face tumultuous times ahead. Before he could fully grasp the unfolding situation, another call arrived, bearing more pressing news. Adrian's world was unraveling, and his mistress, who had discovered his night at the club with another woman, unleashed a torrent of hysterics, warning him to stay away from her. This revelation left Adrian stunned, with troubles seemingly closing in on all sides. He nervously chuckled, struggling to find an escape from the mounting chaos. Succumbing to despair, he sought solace in the bottom of a bar glass, drifting into a fitful slumber. Upon awakening on the third day, he dragged himself into the shower, and it was then that a moment of clarity struck. He realized he couldn't continue down this self-destructive path and descend into destitution once more. It was at this critical juncture that he recalled Ruby, someone he hadn't thought of in years. The realization dawned that it had been 2 long years since he had spoken to her, and a strong urge compelled Adrian to seek her counsel on how to mend his fractured life. With determination, Adrian secured Ruby's address through security, embarking on a highway journey the very next morning, relentless and unwavering. As nightfall approached, he finally arrived at the village where Ruby resided. Doubts momentarily plagued his mind, questioning why he had undertaken this journey. However, all uncertainties dissipated as he spotted Ruby approaching him with a warm smile. She greeted him with genuine warmth, inviting him into her home. There she introduced him to her husband, Dominic, and her son, Cole, who were as open and friendly as Ruby herself. Adrian felt his tension ease as he surveyed the quaint, aging house. It had been a while since he had been in such surroundings, but the space exuded cleanliness and coziness, adorned with a plethora of toys and pictures of Ruby adorning the walls. Ruby warmly invited everyone to the table, and a simple yet delicious dinner of baked potatoes was served. Adrian found himself unable to resist asking for seconds, savoring the taste of such uncomplicated and satisfying food. Little Cole, with his innocent smile that mirrored his mother's, wished Adrian a hearty appetite, sending a warm sensation coursing through Adrian's heart. This act of genuine affection contrasted starkly with his past interactions with his own children, who he had always admonished not to interrupt adult conversations at the table. Soon, Dominic and Cole tactfully excused themselves, taking their leave to provide Ruby and their guest with some private space. Ruby brewed her special herbal tea and prepared to lend a sympathetic ear. Adrian opened up to her, sharing his life's narrative, from the achievements he had amassed alongside his wife and children to his recent regrettable conduct and its repercussions. As he observed the modest life Ruby led with her husband and son in their unadorned home, he couldn't help but detect an aura of contentment and serenity that had eluded him until now. Adrian's heart ached with longing, yearning for such genuine happiness. He contemplated the idea that maybe he needed to adopt their way of life, one that required less focus on money. He pondered the notion that those who possessed wealth weren't necessarily guaranteed happiness. Ruby empathized with his inner struggle and earnestly sought to offer her guidance, saying, "Why should you have to live like us? It's not your path. You are unique. Our differences don't make either of us bad. You have your own way, and Dominic and I have ours. You can't live without work, and neither Dominic nor I can do it the way you do. You won't be able to live the way we do. I remember how your work used to light up your eyes. If you could only imagine devoting more attention and time to your family and learning to find relaxation, then everything might fall into harmony. I'm certain you haven't truly attempted to find joy in the simple fact that you have your family, the tranquility of creative leisure, and the simple existence itself," Ruby gently remarked. "Don't assume that my husband and I never have disagreements. We do, even about money when times are tight. But in those moments, we both feel a sense of introspection and ask ourselves, How can we earn a living doing what we truly know and love? She continued, "You might label our lifestyle as living for the day, but it's a choice we've made. This life aligns with both of us, allowing us to coexist harmoniously, free to pursue our passions. Spend at least a week with us in this home devoid of luxuries like a jacuzzi bathtub, dishwasher, or air conditioning. Reflect on your life. Recall that your wife and children were once your top priority. Recognize that they, too, have their own interests and desires. Then decide your next course of action." When Adrian awoke the next morning, he felt genuinely refreshed for the first time in a while. It could have been the road fatigue or perhaps the recent tumultuous events, but he had slept soundly, and he arose with a clear mind and newfound vigor. After a refreshing, cool summer shower, his spirits finally lifted. Ruby and Dominic, who had been eagerly anticipating his presence, were already awaiting him at the breakfast table. Later, they were joined by Mrs. Grayson, an elderly neighbor who frequently assisted Ruby and Dominic with young Cole and had grown into a cherished friend of the family. Adrian had always held an appreciation for women like Mrs. Robinson. And on this evening, Ruby and her family, along with Adrian, paid her a visit bearing a delectable, fragrant strawberry pie that Ruby had baked on a different evening. Adrian found these days to be refreshingly distinct from those back home. He relished in the unhurried conversations, cherishing the fact that Cole was regarded as an equal here. Once again, he couldn't help but lament his past decision to restrict his own children from enjoying such equality. During the night, Adrian was abruptly roused from sleep by the tumultuous cacophony of rain pounding against the window pane. The frantic cries of neighbors echoed in the dark as they conveyed the news that Mrs. Robinson had fallen gravely ill and lay unconscious. Someone had already summoned a doctor, but the physician remained unresponsive. Adrian offered to transport the ailing woman in his car, but it became apparent that the deluge had rendered the roads impassable to any vehicle. Entering the house, Adrian found an elderly woman with a pallid, fatigued countenance resting in her bed, with Ruby kneeling by her side. Cole and Dominic stood nearby. Adrian whispered an offer to arrange for a helicopter at his expense, but the frail woman, her lips barely moving, expressed gratitude for his concern and requested only her son's contact information. Ruby had informed Adrian earlier that the woman had been estranged from her son for the past 2 decades, without knowing the cause of their estrangement. Dominic dialed the son's number and placed the phone into Mrs. Grayson's trembling hand, saying, "Son, please, just listen to me." "Don't hang up," the woman whispered with the last remnants of her strength. "Forgive me. I'm sorry. Business always came first, and I never told you how much I loved you. Perhaps your life would have taken a different path. I'm sorry, son. I'm so sorry." The words of the elderly woman, tormented by pain and suffering, were almost too much to bear. As dawn broke, the woman passed away, and immediately following her funeral, Adrian made his way back home. During the journey, he pondered intensely about Ruby and her family, finally grasping the profound message she had tried to convey to him. He also recalled Mrs. Grayson's final words to her son, and it struck him with a chilling realization of how many things he had left unsaid to his wife and sons. With a newfound determination, he resolved to rush to them and plead for their forgiveness on bended knee, repeatedly if necessary. And so he visited his wife, humbly seeking her forgiveness, confessing his understanding of his mistakes, and pledging to prove his commitment to their family day by day. He could perceive the bitterness in his wife's eyes, but he persisted until one day they all returned together to their home. After tucking the children into bed, Adrian embraced his wife, finally uttering the words he had been yearning to say for so long. "Honey, help me start anew." We both need a fresh beginning if we want our children to grow up in a harmonious environment. His wife, with love in her eyes, responded warmly, "We'll begin anew together."